he doesn't wake up for a couple of hours. I could try waking him up with a kick, but then I would be obliged to put him to sleep forever. Now that's strange. Those books are all messed up. Why should Uncle Frank have left these books in a mess? This is the sequence of the books that were all messed up in Uncle Frank's bookcase. I remember music cradling me like a lullaby on those nights when I slept at my uncle's old house. Mozart, one of my uncle's favorites. I remember music cradling me like a lullaby on those nights when I slept at my uncle's old house. Nothing more than an ornament. This poor knight has lost his sword. Hey, when I was little, I asked Uncle Frank a lot of times, Uncle Frank, where's the sword of this poor knight gone to? It's an old grandfather clock. I think I remember that Uncle Frank had one of these in his old house, but I'm not sure. It seems broken. It stopped at 10:10. I remember when I was little and I used to ask, Uncle Frank, why is your grandfather clock always at 5:55? Strangely, Frank never wanted to repair this clock. Why would he do something like that? Wait a sec. There's something hidden behind there. And what's this? I've never seen a fishing trophy like this. It seems ancient. Maybe I'd better not leave it where anybody could find it. A mysterious device. It looks ancient. There's a mechanism with 5 Roman numerals, just like the 5 books on Frank's bookcase. This way I can select the numerals. Aha! It opened. It looks so ancient I'm nearly afraid to touch it.
I thought that in central London, all houses had new fuse boxes. It's Frank's old motorbike. Bits and bobs, nothing important. What's that flicker? Oh, there's some keys. If I remember well, these are the keys for Frank's motorbike, as long as it doesn't fall to pieces. These are the keys of Frank's roaring motorbike.
Do these mean anything to you?
Well, they're symbols, perhaps from an ancient language, but they're not Latin or Greek, and they certainly don't seem to be Asian.
You're not telling me you can speak those ancient languages.
I can't speak them, but I can translate them. Come on, let's get out of here. I've found the keys to your uncle's motorbike. I'll take you to my father. He'll know how to decipher that piece of parchment.
You found the keys? But how did you get here previously?
By bus, of course. What a stupid question.
Hello, Inspector. Coletti here. I'm afraid Mr. Danter has escaped. He was held by Catherine McKendall, and regretfully, we lost 2 men. Yes, he shot them in cold blood, sir. Of course, I'll have an identity kit made and sent out to all the stations. Sure, sir. It'll be the first thing I'll do as soon as I reach my office. Bastards!
Catherine, what's happened?
Coletti shot 2 agents, and I think he wants to accuse me and Jonathan.
Pleased to meet you, Jonathan. And if you're half the man your uncle was, you're well worth knowing. As Kat probably told you, Frank was a very dear friend of mine. Unfortunately, we're in the middle of a war, as you can see.
I've noticed. But why is someone getting rid of the Vatican agents? And who's covering for Coletti? Is it Twinings?
We don't have much time, as he'll be looking for you everywhere. He'll soon get here with some of his men in tow. You see, Jonathan, even though he's very dangerous, Coletti is only a small fry in this story. He's just a bent policeman who sold the names of nearly all the Vatican Secret Service agents. The trouble is that we have no idea of who he's selling the names to. Given the brutality with which these executions are being carried out, they're certainly not being done by someone sane.
Great. Now I'm wanted by the whole of Scotland Yard. I have a corrupt cop on my back. And as if that wasn't enough, I feel like I'm in an episode of The Mysteries of the Holy Grail, or something like that.
The Holy Grail's got nothing to do with this. And can't you be serious for even 10 minutes? Here you are, Dad.
Now this is interesting. It looks like an ancient numerical code. I think you should get Damien to have a look at it.
Who's this Damien? Some kind of number code expert?
Not exactly. Damien's a computer technician, but he also developed some advanced systems to break codes that we used several times during our research.
Dad, did Frank tell you what he was working on?
Just a little. He did mention something about completing research into the Imagi Sanctus. That's a legend, you know. Not all that well known. It seems that the ancient order of the Knights Templar left a legacy for all of humanity. The answers to all questions of mankind. This was apparently recorded in the Imagi Sanctus, and even today, we still don't know exactly what it is. Some say that when the Imagi Sanctus is mentioned in texts, it refers to the shroud, some think it's the Grail, and others that it's neither one nor the other.
So it's just as I thought. The Holy Grail is involved. Uncle Frank must have been close to finding it.
Your uncle was one of the most reputable members of the Vatican Secret Service. I wouldn't be surprised at all to find out that he knew where to look for the Imagi Sanctus. Obviously, whoever killed him now knows whatever the Vatican Secret Service knew. And the killers no longer want the agents under their feet. Your uncle and I became very good friends when we worked together on some special research. He'd expressly asked for scientific help from a member of my group. However, he never talked in any detail about this research, apart from the principal idea he was working on. He used to say that it was to protect me, but I really think it was because Frank saw himself as a 1930s detective. He was a solitary man, and that's probably why he was so damn good at his job.
Jonathan, we'd better make a move. We've got to get to Damien's place. Although he doesn't live too far from the center of London, we have to be careful while we're traveling. Coletti will be looking for us, and his men might burst in here at any moment.
It was a real pleasure to meet you, Mr. McKendall.
The pleasure's all mine, young man. Do try to catch that rogue Coletti. The best luck to you both.
Hi, Kat. Good to see you. Who's your friend?
This is Frank's nephew, Jonathan. Jonathan, this is Damien.
Pleased to meet you. Kat, your father rang as you were on your way here. I'm afraid the police have raided your house and your father has been arrested. You're in a bit of a mess, aren't you?
If Arthur phoned you, Coletti will trace the call and find you in a flash.
Don't worry, mate. I talked to Arthur through the communicator like the one I gave to all the members of the Legacy. Here you are. You'd better have one too.
Thanks.
It's a modified mini-handset which can only connect you to reserved lines from screened servers. I set up the system myself, and it's practically impossible to trace calls to their original source. First, because the calls can't be localized, and second, because no one knows they exist. Are you happier now?
Well, well, well. Now I see why James Bond was English.
Don't take any notice of him. He's always saying stupid things. He thinks he's funny, and he just can't keep his mouth shut when he ought to.
Okay, but are you sure this thing really works?
Jonathan, don't worry. We can trust him. Damien, tell me instead, do these symbols on this parchment we found in Frank's flat mean anything to you?
Well, I'll have to do a bit of research into it. It's certainly a very ancient code. Leave it with me and I'll let you know as soon as I've worked out the meaning of these symbols. For the moment, you should better keep it down. At least until the dust has settled. Cat, why don't you take Joe to Roberts and get his documents facelifted so you can move around in secret until we uncover the truth about Coletti?
Is this Robert one of yours?
Not exactly one of ours, but he's done us a few favors in the past. We can't always get information through legal channels, so sometimes Robert gives us a hand.
Hi, Kat. What brings you down here again? Your friend looks like a policeman. I don't trust him.
Don't worry, Robert. It's Frank Danter's nephew. He needs a false passport.
Are you sure he's okay? He really does look like a policeman.
You trust me, don't you?
All right, all right. A false passport. That's not a problem. All we need is a photo. Who'd you like to be? Famous actor? Pop star?
Robert, stop messing around. We're in trouble. And we're wanted by the police.
The police have been looking for me for years. You know, you can't get used to anything in life.
But I haven't got a photo with me. What are we going to do now?
Damn. I've lent my digital camera to a friend who's doing a job for some woman. Wait a minute, though. There's an old photo machine around here. Try that. In the meantime, I'll get working on these state documents.
Jonathan, I'll leave you here for a while if you don't mind. I just have to rush back home to see if I can get in touch with my father again and find out if Coletti's men have done any damage.
But the police will still be there. It doesn't seem like such a good idea to me.
Don't worry, I'll be careful, and that way I'll be able to pick up my false passport.
You've got a false passport too?
One of my best jobs, even if I say so myself. A real work of art. While working for the Legacy, Kat managed to get into the most unlikely places using it. And she hasn't been stopped yet. I'm a genius.
Promise me you'll be careful.
You sure you're not a policeman, mate?
Robert uses these to do the most incredible things, but I don't know how to use them.
Hey, I don't use those things or other low-resolution cameras. My works are real works of art.
This is a secondary exit we can use if any problem should occur. I don't agree with using girls' bodies to take sexy photos, but I can't help but admire such splendor.